Hi. Oh, hi, Maris. You're early. What, what, welcome. Hi, hi, Zara. Welcome. Um, so we do have a story about a goat, but also I brought this crochet project if I don't get distracted by the story. The second side of the poncho I'm making for my housemate. How has my week been? Pretty good, but like very. Just I keep thinking of the term mental load, where you're just thinking about a lot and trying to make sure you don't let any of the things fall through the cracks, and that's how it's felt with. I'm happy that I finally got my website up and um, it is working correctly. A few people have ordered from it, including me, because they Wix said like told me, okay, now it's time to make a test purchase. So I thought, oh, okay, so are they gonna send me somewhere that has like a fake product that I'm supposed to buy, but actually like it's just like for the purposes of testing the system? No, they wanted me to buy one of my actual products for myself, I guess. So I thought about, so I bought one skein of yarn and it worked, and I thought about, do I want to put this back in the inventory? And I was like, no, I'm going to keep it as my first purchase. But I have had a couple other people buy skeins too, which is cool. Hi, Kathleen. Good to have all of y'all. Right. Um, just before coming on here, I was thinking about a couple of really funny subreddits I have recently found. One of them is goat parkour, which is just pictures of goats doing things like climbing up walls or jumping onto things. The other one is goats on top of horses, and that one has a lot of really cute goat content too. But it's funny. Um, I I scrolled down to where the person who made the sub had posted and said, awesome, there are 10,000 of you now, of people who had joined the sub, and you have made the top post a cat on top of a sheep on a subreddit called Goats on Top of Horses. So um, that made me laugh. But I don't have a lot of experience in person with goats that are not these guys. So it's been fun to learn some stuff about them. Apparently, they love to be up high. So yeah. So let um, let me know how you folks are, and I'm happy to chat in between the story and stuff, and what you're working on, what you're drinking. I have coffee that's still good, but still like it's good coffee, but it's the least effort coffee that I have. It just comes in a it's just like instant that comes in a packet from the Trader Joe's. It's like this pack of latte powder. I often use it for my muffin recipe, but because it's like chocolate, coffee, muffins. Um, but it's also good to drink. So I was just like, I'm tired. I'm just gonna drink this. So our youngest cat hates the rain and begs to sleep in our bed. So it's been a cat on my head kind of week for me. Yeah, it makes sense. Trader Joe's does have a lot of good stuff. There's one in walking distance of me, so when I don't want to schedule the Safeway delivery, then I just like pop down to Walgreens and the Trader Joe's, and between them, like the very different food they tend to have. I'm okay for most things that I would need like right now. So so yeah. I actually found him at a thrift store, and that was when I was usually collecting stuffed sheep, and so and also llamas and alpacas. So I didn't really know why this goat was calling my name, but I was like, oh, okay. And so I got my goat, and he just kind of sat with my other stuffies for a long time, like for several years, and I didn't know what his name was, or really what his personality was. But then my brother Brian wrote this book, Vicaro. I don't know if it's... I think the screen isn't flipped this time because I'm filming with the back camera. But, hi Draka! Hi goats! So, this was actually before we became chosen brothers, because that happened after I read this book that they had written. But this is about... I'm just going to read the blurb. It's heavily based on experiences with their gods and like the spiritual path, like stories that they've been given. So, ooh, a corn stuffy for your cat. It's corn. Nice. The easiest way to explain it, I think, is like just reading the blurb on the back. Vicaro is a collection of stories that follow key moments in the lives of a series of humans and their spirit allies as they struggle to keep their people well and whole while facing climate change, war, and cultural imperialism across time, from the Ice Age to the 21st century. A lot of it... Hi, Winter. A lot of it is based in like the specific form of Minoan paganism that Brian and now I practice. So like a lot of the stories have to do with gods in that pantheon, kind of. And Vicaro is actually the name of a sort of brotherhood of monks-ish, but they're the image of monks you might have isn't really what they have. Like they're a lot more like I don't want to say that monks aren't happy, but like the sense of Vicaro that I get are just like overwhelming joy and life, and just dancing and singing and stuff like that, and just being very queer and gender non gender non conforming. And Vicaro is also the name of, or one of the names of the deity that they call oldest brother, who we have found out is we have been told by the deity that we know as Gwyn, and that's his name in the Welsh context. He's and like this is personal gnosis, so like I'm not trying to claim that it's lore or like it's not something I can prove, but like this is something that he told me and some other people, and so he's one of his faces, or the way that he shows up over in Minoan Crete is as this god who one of his names is the oldest brother of the Vicaro, and they're called Vicaro because that's one of his names. So they're kind of living as him to bring his, I guess, love and joy to the world in a way that other people can hear and see too, since most people aren't really as able to talk to like gods and the spirits, so it can be a lot easier to talk to humans. But yeah. Oh no, your the internet's failing. Well, I hope it comes back so you can hang out with us. So I read that book and I didn't know much about the context of it. I just knew that my friend Brian had written a book, and I could tell that my patron god was in these stories because it just felt like him, even though I didn't it wasn't by the same name, but like oh no, lag. Oh. The goat buffer zone. Yeah, that is frustrating. But yeah, but I was just like, I can tell this is him even though it's not by the same name. So I thought I would probably talk to Brian about, okay, so who is this supposed to be? But I knew that at least for me, I was pretty sure that I was meant to that my patron that wanted me to see him in these stories, and he pointed out that a lot of what the Vicaro Brotherhood were doing in this story, it's set in the Bronze Age and on Crete, seemed like a version of what my patron god Gwen is teaching me to do in this in my life now. Like I hadn't been quite sure where all of that was going, but I was like, well, there are some skills he's teaching me that seem like I'm going to be some kind of, I don't know, pagan clergy or something, or like have a role in helping the community, and I don't really know what that will look like or what it will be called, but that's I'm just going on this path with him. And so he pointed out that, hey, it's weird how these guys are kind of doing the same thing that you're doing. And I was like, well, yeah, that is weird, but I didn't think anything else of it. But then later, Gwen asked me if I wanted to be one of them, like become Vicaro, and I didn't know that Brian had also done that. So I was like, well, I'm. This is weird. Like I might just be the first one in thousands of years, and is it going to be weird for Brian if I'm like starting to walk a path that they were given the story of in their book? But anyway, long story short, it turns out we both are now the Vicaro, and as far as I know, we're the only currently living ones. I would love to be proven wrong at some point, but that's as far as we know at the moment. But anyway, goats are really important to the Vicaro, and we're the short story, because this book is a series of short stories. The short story where we're introduced to them is through the eyes of a young boy who is about to become one. Hi, Melissa. Welcome. And he's a goat herd, and his name is Banros. So that's why I named my the Beanie Baby goat after him. And I was like, oh cool, I finally have a name for this Beanie Baby goat that's been just here in my herd for a long time, but I haven't known really what to do with him or why he's here. And so at that point, actually, goats weren't like a huge thing for me, but I knew that they're important on the Vicaro path, and my friend and now brother Brian liked goats, so I was like, well, yeah, I'll make them part of my life too, and. But I was also going to start a YouTube channel at a certain point, and so I started making him part of my brand and like my co-host on my podcast channel, and I feel like I got to know his personality through that, and that really made me love goats more. So gotta love finding a mistake in a round when you're 2/3 of the way through the next round and each round is 418 stitches. Wow, that sucks. I am sorry to hear that. So yeah, that kind of like when these are really wide, like this one isn't wide yet, but like when it gets wide and then you come across and you find a mistake in the previous round or row, it's like, no. So but yeah, that is the yep, Frogging Thursday, I guess. So that's basically Banros's origin story. I think that he was waiting for my the Vicaro path, and just showed up early. This yarn, it's one of the Hobie Halloween ones. Dahlia, I think is the series, and it's the freaky nightmare one. So my housemate saw me working on the the Lost Souls veil I was working on for this around last Halloween, and she was like, I want that. So she commissioned me for oh yeah, I started from the outside. Been working on a floor length duster jacket, and I am so close to being done, but oh well. Oh no. That sounds cool though, like a big project too. It's like, yeah, I can see where the rows would be long at that point. Yeah, that makes sense, Winter. I'm at the first color change actually. So we have one strand of purple in here. And weirdly it's going faster than I thought it would. Yes, it is like a huge mandala. It would be fun to make some kind of mandala pattern with these, or any like color changing yarn. Almost finished the shawl in Mad Scientist. Is that a pattern or a like a color? But yeah, that's cool. The funny thing is, I figured out after I finished the second one that at some point my brain decided to just change the pattern, and I didn't get like, it doesn't really look different, but I'm gonna try and do the same thing in this one because I want it to be the same shape and size, but the actual pattern is across the eyes you do 16 single crochet, and for some reason I did 18, like halfway up the shawl I just switched to 18, which means that there's an extra line on the top of the skull, like the extra row, and I'm not sure why, but it just changed. So I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change at about the same point in this one too. It's annoying because it's just rows of DC and very boring in the larger end rows. Yeah, I'll bet it's so hard for me to do just one, like a very simple stitch. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Too many. Okay, good. Let me just catch up on the chat. I'm using the Lion brand Ferris wheel, so the colors are rad. Nice. Halloween Dahlia colorway. Oh, another one. So that one's the green, blue, and purple one. Cool. Hi, Zan. Yes, I saw that you had ordered yarn from me. I um, thank you so much. I'm so happy people are, buying. Yeah, I have a couple of things to like pack the yarn in on the way, and the latest the they should get here Friday and um, Monday of next week. So as soon as that happens, I'm gonna hope to like go ahead and get those out to you, and also one other person so far who has ordered. So um, just wanted to keep you appraised of how that's going. Thank thank you, Winter. Yeah, I'm not sure what I expected really, but it's amazing to have gone ahead and gotten sales. So like, wow, thanks. um, I have a mandala vest pattern I want to do in the Mad Scientist yarn. Ooh, cool. Yeah. There are a couple of mosaic crochet patterns that are kind of like mandalas, and I want to do them in my yarn, but I haven't like worked any up yet because I've been working on dyeing it and like putting it on the site. So I would love to see how it turns out. Like, what does it actually look like when people do things with it? It's funny. I actually did buy one of. I'm, I might have said this, but yeah, I ended up buying one of one of my own skeins because the Wix site that I'm using told me to go and make a test purchase, and the only guidance they gave was sent me to my own website. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll buy one of my yarn skeins, and I thought about putting it back, but I think that's the Vault of Inanna 4. But I thought, no, I'm gonna let this be the first purchase. It just happens to be from me, or by me. So I was happy to see that it did work, though. Excuse me. But just working on a countdown calendar cross stitch project these days. Cool. I have a good friend who has recently gotten into cross stitching and sends me pictures of the update on their project every night. since we call their project this the stab, like the update is the nightly stab, which sounds like a true crime podcast or something like that. And their cat is very confused because he's not allowed to stab the tiny white cloth, but he's really the professional stabber, because he's a cat. So he's like, but if I'm not allowed to do this, then I should at least supervise you as closely as possible, because like I'm sure that he's confused because he hasn't seen his human stab things before. This is the first time, so he's like, well, you're a newbie, so he has to watch. But yeah, I did that because of Kayla's Christmas stuff they were unboxing, except my calendar is a bit different. Nice. I think we're on the last row across the head. Yeah, he's like, but I'm the one that stabs. have to be like the cool kids and order some yarn. If I'm interpreting you correctly, thank you. And if not, no worries. It's weird. I had so much to talk about, and then I feel like I've talked about most of it, and I'm just like, wait, what? What else was I going to say? So, yeah. Oh, cool. It's got 24 squares that are each 16 by 16, and they're gonna have a small design. Cool. Are they gonna be like horror themed or goth or? This morning, the friend of mine that I um, who bought the plushie from you, Winter, showed us, and it's so cute. Oh, I see the winky face. Nice. Yes, I was actually gonna ask about Skinny Puppy, but I was like, well, that might. I'm not sure why I thought that wouldn't make sense. But I was like, would that be too obvious? But no. Oh, cool. That sounds like a really cool way to like explore your or express your love for something. Just and it kind of gives you something to do while you wait. When the year that Return of the King came out, I was turning 13, and I had recently gotten really into everything Tolkien, and I just had a horrible time waiting for the movie to come out. Um, I should have started a cross stitch or something of pictures of Frodo. Yes, the purple doggo. Then the 25th day is the whole width, and we'll have a scene with the guys in it, probably all in black. Cool. That would be a really cool diary of sorts too for this time in your life. Or like this important experience with some of the Ada showing through. Cool. I've learned some of the terms just from watching people and like talking to folks. Pictures of Frodo sounds like a great band name. Yes, it does. I feel like there are so many like Tolkien inspired bands that would be one of them. Yeah. Like there's I don't know their music very well, but there is a metal band I think called Amon Amarth, which is Elvish for Mount Doom. So, and it's on Splatter Ada. Ooh, cool. On F is for Family, the band is called Shire of Frodo. Cool. Is that a show? I'm not very up to date on pop culture sometimes, but yeah, that is cool. as a kid and teen, like that was my like the only thing I cared about. So I would have loved to see random references to like Tolkien, Middle Earth, especially Frodo. One of my first loves. So. Too shaky to do cross stitch or embroidery. Enjoy it while you can. Yeah, that is rough when like you can't do things because of physical issues. Drawing some of the things in such a small scale has been annoying. Yeah, I'll bet. I've been trying to see how small I can draw things in my pixel art style and still make it look like I want it to. So that's like it's hard to draw in that, like to balance the small size and the detail. Oh, it's a Netflix adult cartoon. It takes place in 73 to 75. I was born in 75, so some of it still hits home for me. Cool. Yeah, carpal tunnel is hard. My favorite books as a teen were the trilogy. I about shit my pants when I saw the first trailer at theaters. Yeah, I loved the films and still do. It just like I put so much into them as a teen, like emotionally, that at least for now I have to just like take a break because it's just like I cared so much about them. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, it would be fun to go back and watch them at some point. I I used to love watching the cast commentary. um, and just like hearing the stories they would tell during the scenes. Yeah, that is cool. That your dad read them to you. I read The Hobbit first, and I had to. Just I was just thinking about the timeline because I got into Lord of the Rings when I was 12, so like at the time it felt like it had taken a long time because I read books. I started reading way above my grade level really early, and it felt like it took a couple of tries for me to get into The Hobbit, and then it took a couple of tries for me to like read through the Fellowship, So I felt like it took me a long time because most books I could just go through, but looking back, I'm like, wow, like a 10-year-old reading that I'm not surprised it took me a while. So, yeah. And then like sometime in while reading The Two Towers, I just fell in love with Frodo, and I was kind of frustrated that no one had told me this is what love was like. Again, I was 12. I guess they weren't expecting me to have to know about that, but I was just like, oh my god, I love this character so much. So, yeah. I read The Hobbit to my son when he was little. He loved it. He's 12 now. I tried to get him into the movies, but it hasn't clicked with him yet. Yeah, I didn't have the click for a while too. And like I was trying to finish the two towers the year that it was going to come out, so that I could go and see the movie in theater, and but it hadn't yet clicked with me then because the way that the like as you might know, the way the books are set up, there's the first entire half of the Two Towers is about like basically the adventures of everyone except for Frodo and Sam, and then the second half is all of that. So like my mom was um, reading it to me actually, and we it felt like we were slogging through Helm's Deep. So, but we did get through that. I'm told that that's how filming Helm's Deep felt too. It was kind of a nightmare. So, um, but then I got to the second part, and I was just like, yes, I get it now. So, oh, you have an old fat gray cat. His name is Gandalf. Nice. You read The Hobbit in high school because it was mandatory. Yeah, I'll bet. Like it's so British. Like at least parts of it. I'm sure it would be weird in a different language. And yeah, I was similar. Like my reading level was like um, way higher, and I feel like that's common in like neurodivergent kids, but like it was weird because like that was one thing I was way ahead of my grade in, but like other things were just hard, and so I was like, well, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just gonna go read my books now. So, um, yeah, to totally get what you mean with that series, Winter. It's I had at some point decided that I couldn't take all of the character death in that series, and so like pre all of this, I was like, well, I'm gonna have to just take it out of my mental landscape. But yeah, it's hard. Yeah, waiting over 25 years for the movies after reading the books. Yeah, I remember how excited my parents were when we first got the news. I think in a newspaper that they were actually doing a they movie, because I hadn't read those books yet, but I knew that my parents loved them because they're big fans of fantasy and sci-fi. Yeah, like it's funny because Tolkien is so good at language stuff, but also he's like his stuff works well in the language that he wrote it in. So, um, oh, Lloyd Alexander, wasn't he the one who also wrote the Terran Wanderer? Yeah, gasping and cheering during the trailers. Yeah, I was super impressed by like the camera work. I was just like, wow, it's kind of scary, but just really exciting to watch the camera zoom into this pit where orcs are being born. Like, wow, it really made it come alive. So, if that's the same Lloyd Alexander I'm thinking of, then I haven't read that book, but I have read the Terran, the Black Cauldron series. It's kind of funny because the main, so I think that's sort of based on Welsh mythology, but like it's in a fantasy world, but it's kind of inspired by that. And the main villain, yeah, the Chronicles of Prydain. I can't remember the main villain's name, which is funny because it's the same name as one of the other people in Welsh myth who's thought to be who's written as the king of the other world. That besides my patron god, and we like some people think that they might be the same. I from like a personal gnosis standpoint, I can't really get a clear answer from him. But I just feel a bit weird about that now because like my patron has been heavily demonized, and like someone who might sort of be him was the main villain in that book. Like I'm not saying it's a bad series. It's a they're great books, but I was just like, if I went back to read them now, it would feel a bit weird. But bought a few horror classics that I only watched as movies and it never read, but I can't motivate myself to do it. Yeah, sometimes it's like, well, I can consume them in this one, but not this form. So well, that's more pages of Dracula that I've read. So congrats. One, two, three. Aquarius, yay! Yeah, don't be embarrassed. That's cool. my dad has a bunch of that genre. Actually, I'm guessing a lot of the books that I see around his bed are like, or he and my mom have a lot of shelves of books in their room, and so I have mentioned they're hoarders. So like they're not um, if they're not just on the shelves, they're on the floor in piles. But it's kind of cool to see just how many of these well loved books they have. And on my dad's shelves, a lot of them are really hard sci-fi. So I feel like he tends to be to like more of the. I'm not sure how much new sci-fi he's read, but like he has a lot of really old books. Yes, YA is a good genre. I think I heard that like a lot of adults love that genre because it just has a lot of themes that work. Yes, that too. Being more authentic with queer representation. The webcomic I'm working on started as being like, I was thinking of it as YA because I was like, well, that's the genre that I love, so that's probably going to be that. But then it got to be where I feel like it's a bit past the age of where like both the reader age and the character age, but I want it to have the feeling of YA, but the characters are just a bit older. So got a book of Poe's poems, cool, and some stories in it. Opened it only once, not even read, but the pages are gilded. Yeah. I have a fancy book of Poe's poems too. One of the sheep that I mentioned earlier, that I was actually the first one that I just happened to find, and then that's the reason why I got a bunch of other stuffed sheep. Her name is Annabelle B, and for a while I was trying to name all of my sheep after Poe's poems. I haven't like read all of them, but I was like, that's kind of a cool theme to have. So yeah, you could definitely go a lot of places with books. Yeah, definitely with you on the queer authors. That I'm not sure if I mentioned my revolutionary llama. That her name I think is Madeline, but she's also like it's a long story, but like she's the lore around this Stuffy is that she's a freedom fighter who has been imprisoned multiple times but has always gotten out, and helps the oppressed underclass get free. And so I try and like channel that kind of, because I'm like, wow, she's a brave character, I guess. So she makes me think a lot of the Bajorans in Deep Space Nine. But yeah. Oh, I have not read Jekyll and Hyde. Oh, that's a cool theory. Yeah, a lot of these books I have not read except for Lord of the Rings. Um, that's cool about the Elvish symbols. That was the first language other than um, English that I really put effort into trying to learn. So I I worked on learning Quenya for a while. Oh, Jekyll, cool. I I did not know that. Well, I'm glad to know because it's good to get people's names right, but also I I have a Scottish last name too. My le- 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 legal last name. So I have no idea what the We Free Men is about, but I like that image. Hey baby, let's read this story. And I haven't read much of Neil Gaiman or Terry Pratchett, but I love what I know of them and their work. I have friends who are big fans of each of them and both of them. And there's there's a knot in my yarn now. Yes, I have heard good things about Nanny Og and the Witches in the Discord World series. Hmm. Well, I think this is going to be a point where we have to break this yarn. That's okay. I'm told that like Terry Pratchett actually knew some people in the witchy pagan world, which is one reason why his witches, like even though they're fantasy, like they kind of ring true. So I do want to read those soon. Oh, bye Zara. Um, Great to have you here. The corn, yes. And yeah, I'm actually about at the time when I need to get out of this room too. So thank you so much for coming and like keeping this like making this a really lively, fun chat. I'm glad I got to tell you about my goat and talk about some fun books. We've been talking about fantasy, and this isn't exactly that. It's more like spiritual. Um, a, a, a lot of mystical stuff happens in it, which, but like it's more in the genre of like this is maybe happening in the spirit world, but I I would love to see people check out my brother Brian's book, the Vicaro by Brian Hewitt. No, no affiliation besides just that we're friends in real life. But yeah, so yeah, I guess I will let you all go now. have have fun with your various um, hyper focuses and crafts, I'm probably gonna go watch the Mentor Pilot channel talk about various plane crashes because that's my current hyper focus. Sound, if you mean what was the book, I'm just gonna assume it's Vicaro by Brian Hewitt. So yeah, I'm actually gonna go now. go goodbye, and thank you so much for coming, everyone.